The sponsor of today's interview is College Soccer's Next. College Soccer's Next is the #1 college soccer recruiting service focused on helping aspiring prospective student athletes achieve their dreams of playing college soccer. Some of the services that they're able to provide, I got to read them off the list, include a college soccer mentor who's gone through the recruiting process firsthand, a strength and conditioning coach, a sports nutrition coach, a professional highlight video editor, as well as a personal evaluation and strategic proven plan of action, as well as much, much more to make your dreams of playing college soccer turn into a reality. Book your free consultation call today down in the description at collegesoccersnext.com. Take your first steps at earning your college soccer scholarship today. Enjoy the episode, folks. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Kick a Ball podcast. I'm your host for today, Daniel Lang. And today, we have a very special guest, the star of Merrimack Men's Soccer, Samuel Biven. How are you doing today, man? How are you doing?
Awesome, man. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to do this.
Of course. So, look, I always say all the time, I always like highlighting the people around this Northeast area, like the tri-state area, like, guys like us who are from the Northeast. So, it's a pleasure to be able to have you on. Thank you for wanting to come on, and I'm excited to get talking about your journey.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
So that being said, what has the off season looked like? The college eligibility, your college career has come to a close with Merrimack after 4 years of Providence, and then now with Merrimack. But what has this off season work looked like for you to make sure that you're ready for the professional opportunities that are surely to come?
Yeah, so just been working really hard doing individual work, but also there's a guy, Steven Bivens here, who I work with, and then another trainer, Brock Washington, to shout them out real quick. But those two guys I've been working with since high school, even early college days. So every off season, grinding with them, getting extra work. So I've been doing that, but then also just reaching out to any and everybody I can to get as many opportunities as possible. So,
Right.
yeah.
And so I gotta imagine that the Midwest Combine had to have been a great step for you, though, too. I mean, I've seen the highlight tape of yourself. I thought it was great, but what an opportunity that is for college guys really to showcase themselves and be available. I mean, tell me about your experience with that, how you first found out the invite process, what it's really like for someone on the outside.
Yeah, so I mean, having a good season my last year, and then obviously trying to make the next step. I was just looking to see like what the top opportunities are to do that. And I had spoken to a couple of people in and around the professional game, and they said, this is a combine that you got to go to if you're, you know, not one of the guys. Like obviously, I wasn't expecting to get drafted or anything, so I was just looking to see how I could get my name out there and all that stuff. So I saw it and applied and eventually got invited in. And, it's a lot of top college guys. And it was a really great experience. I really enjoyed it. Got there the first day, started with a training session, and we did some like athletic testing as well, and then got into the games the later in that day, and then the next day played two more games after that. And awesome, it was a great level, and that was a really good experience to play with all the top college guys, and obviously to get showcased in front of pro teams.
Right. And that best 11 distinction, I'm sure doesn't hurt either, though, too. I mean, getting your name further out there with that huge of an event that's so well known. I mean, like you said before, there's people that tell you, look, you got to go to this if you want to get that exposure. And people have definitely taken notice. It's the starting 11 that you've been a part of too, one of two defensive midfielders. And I mean, like I said before, I've seen your tape. You've put it out there for everyone to be able to witness. And one of the goals, or the goal that you scored, at least during the combine, was very similar to the one that was scored against Quinnipiac, I believe, this season. I mean, so tell me about actually being able to play with some of these guys too in this controlled setting where, it's not so much win or lose, but it's just making sure that you're doing the right thing, that you're showcasing all of your skills, all your abilities, and what do you think was best showcased at least in the time that you were there?
Well, I think I don't want to say I got lucky, but a lot of my teammates, they played the game how like the right way. They weren't trying to do too much. Everybody was playing like in their positions. Everybody was playing 1-2 touch soccer. So it was really great because nobody was trying to do too much. You know how sometimes when you're in front of people. You want to stand out. People start to do too much, and then it becomes hard to like actually play the game the right way.
Right.
And nobody really did that, and on my team especially. So it was really great, as well because like everybody there was like allowing not only me to do well, but putting me in the best spots because they're playing that one touch or two touch pass to give me time and space instead of taking too long on the ball and losing it. But yeah, that goal was definitely similar to the one in Quinnipiac. I love a good diving header, but yeah, man, uh, it was definitely a great experience, and it was interesting. It was a little nerve wracking at first because there's all these guys you don't know, and
Right.
that's probably the weirdest thing. You're trying to get to know everybody's name, and then you have to play in an 11v11 game with them. But
Mm.
it went really well, and I'm ecstatic about getting that best 11 recognition. It's pretty awesome.
And what's so interesting about this though too is that you play a position that it's hard, I think, sometimes to evaluate from, my perspective, at least when I'm, you know, having done more of these interviews, I think I have a better sense of it now. But the way that you play is so dependent upon, or not the way that you play, but the way that a defensive midfielder's position works, that CDM role, it's so crucial upon a great style of play and how, you're able to move in space or be situationally aware of, your A or B option that you may have on either side, and just understanding what the smart pass is to do further on. And when you have the rest of your teammates that are also looking for that smart option moving forward, it just makes your job a little bit easier, but also helps you be able to stand out too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a position that you have to be aware of what's around you at all times and who is where and always checking your shoulder, trying to find the right pocket of space and where you can pick it up off the center backs and then, you know, when you do pick it up off the center back, what's the next pass, knowing that before you get it definitely helps. And that's the biggest thing that I've taken away and experienced from academy to college to now trying to play professionally has been thinking faster and knowing what I'm going to do before I get the ball has really like it's taken my game to another level because you know at least in academy I would usually instinctually just let what would happen, but now I've started to think, okay, what before I get the ball, what am I going to do? I'm looking, where's the next pass? These three guys are open. I'm checking my shoulder, seeing who's on the other side of the field. So, just knowing what's around you at all times, who's where, it really can help, especially in that defensive midfield position to
Right.
just be able to pass out and get out of pressure and keep the ball for the team.
And so now I gotta ask though too, it's something that I've seen sometimes be a switch, at least moving from a center back position to being a defensive midfielder, where you're able to have, like you talked about, more of this facilitating role, at least before, than leaning, so not having to lean so much on a back line, but being a supporting piece and, making the bridging the gap between the midfield and the defensive line. Is that something that you've experimented really at all with, whether it be in academy or with Providence or Merrimack at that center back role? Is just something that popped up out of curiosity for me.
I've played center back a couple times with USL two. It was in a back three. Obviously, I think the roles, I don't want to say they're interchangeable because they are two different positions, but I think as a defensive midfielder, dropping into the back line to get the ball and progress it forwards is always something that's done. So whether that's in a back three, it's definitely something that I've done. Would I say it's my best position? I'd probably prefer to be in the midfield, but it's definitely something that I do have experience with, and yeah, it was cool, but I think it's obviously I think I'm best suited in the midfield.
Right. And I ask that sometimes just because I've seen certain center back battles result in, someone who maybe doesn't end up getting that starting center back spot end up being a great center defensive mid. So that's just why and maybe they're not maybe they're interchangeable for you sometimes just because you've got
Yeah.
this set to be able to do both, but it's still good regardless that there is that primary role of you being that CDM? Because I know sometimes there's certain, teams or wherever else, at least especially with this process, is okay, look, where can we put Sam in? We know, okay, that CDM role or that defensive midfielder role is a great option for him. But if for whatever case, it's never a bad option to have a 6'2" center back, especially in that back three where you're the only center back at that point. No,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something I've always prided myself on, though. Growing up, always been a versatile player, playing everywhere. So, I mean, I played winger, I've played wing back, I've played in the midfield, I've played up top, I've played center back, I've played center mid. So, I've literally played just about every position except goalkeeper from academy to college. So,
very
it's
nice.
definitely something that I think is useful, but also trying to find like a home. It's been difficult because coaches, obviously they want to put their best players on the field. So, you know, if certain people can't play other positions, then I sometimes would get end up being the guy. Oh, you're gonna play wing back because I'm able to do it. But I pride myself in it and being able to play multiple positions, and I think I can do pretty much any position on the field pretty well.
Very nice. That'll bode very well for the coaches who will end up watching this for sure, I imagine. So, I got a lot of other questions I want to ask you. I could go further so much into the Merrimack season, which we'll get into the rest of your college career with Providence, but I want to get a sense of the kind of person that you are. So if you wouldn't mind, I would love to hear your soccer journey from really where it first began, your first touches into academy, into college, and then maybe how play styles have changed, certain things that you've learned along the way. But yeah, I want to hear every part of your journey that you're willing to give to us now.
Yeah, so I grew up playing just like a rec league around four in Atlanta, Georgia, and that's where I'm from. So yeah, I grew up playing, just playing for fun, with my friends, my buddies, and I think around 8 or 9, I don't want to say it got serious, but that's when you kind of make the jump from like rec league to select soccer. So I went and ended up playing at Smyrna Soccer Club for about I want to say 5 years up until 15, 16. I was at this club, Smyrna Soccer Club. It's in Smyrna, Georgia. And, we won the state cup, Georgia State Cup a couple times. We made it to the regionals. I was a part of the Olympic development program. I was in the Region 3 ODP pool and stuff like that. And, definitely had some cool experiences in that stage. And then once I got to around 16, 17, ended up playing in the U.S. Development Academy, which is no longer a thing for UFA, which is a club in northern Georgia. So yeah, and we were the team that I was lucky enough to be a part of was one of the best. I think we were ranked fifth out of the entire academy, which is, you know, pretty cool to be a part of a team that was so good. We lost in the quarterfinals of the academy playoffs to LA Galaxy that year, and yeah, that was it was a really cool thing to be a part of. Such a high level. I think we had 17 guys end up playing at the Division 1 level. I had a couple of my buddies. One of them, our goalkeeper Ryan Sheway, plays for Sporting Kansas City now. Our center back Riley Thomas was just training with him earlier. Just got drafted by Austin FC, so it's pretty cool to see all those names from growing up playing with them, and it seems like we're all doing very well right now, and it's pretty awesome to be a part of something like that. And yeah, I've always been a very hard worker though, and I don't want to say like it's been easy getting to any of these levels. I've always kind of willed myself in by training, doing the extra work. Always growing up, taught to do the extra stuff and set yourself apart. So I've always been, you know, one to do the extra work and always be the guy first there, last to leave, and you know, at college too, doing the same thing. Waiting for the opportunities to come, and eventually it did at Merrimack. So I went to from the academy, ended up going to Providence College, which I was recruited to go play, and I really enjoyed my time there, and I worked really hard. And I scored some goals for them, but it was a thing where you know, I wanted a little bit more of an opportunity to shine because obviously trying to make the jump to the professional level, I had a couple guys that were brought in from overseas academies that, as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old competing with a 23-year-old guy from Portugal who just came from Sporting Lisbon, it's not easy coming from the academy to, take that guy's spot. And so that was something where I really wanted to play for them, and was a reason why I wrote it out and stayed there for so long. But at the end of the day, I needed just a coach to believe in me and give me an opportunity, which I'm so happy and thankful for Coach Mirko Nufi and Coach Tony Martone at Merrimack, for giving me that opportunity to shine and really have a standout season this last year at Merrimack. So yeah, I mean, I loved the season there, and yeah, that's kind of been my journey so far.
So I gotta ask though too, I mean, with the move at Merrimack, you have the ability to be able, I'm sure Merrimack wasn't the only school that was calling you or at least hitting you up, at least when you entered that transfer portal. But you know, looking back on that time, knowing that you wanted a certain system to be able to play in, what made Merrimack feel so right?
I think it was a thing where, for me, especially leaving Providence, I mean, top 15 program every year. I thought, okay, I'm gonna be able to play at a lot of programs, but it was a thing where I just wanted to make sure that I was going to be able to stand out. And speaking with Coach Martone, he kind of gave me the sense that, I would be a standout for their team. And obviously that was the case. But that was the biggest selling point for me, was coming and being able to be, the top guy on a team and really be the leader. And yeah, that was the biggest thing that I think got me there.
And so how they first end up coming up with your name in the portal though, too? I mean, you know, not having production at Providence, but maybe not seeing the full capability of what you really could do for a team like Merrimack. I mean, the 3 goals, 2 assists at the defensive midfield position is something that's definitely have had it shows offensive production, but it's also been so much more of you being able really to facilitate a lot of this offense from that midfield line. Being able to take the space up the field, making that easier pass better, even working your way into the offensive third, though, too. I mean, we've seen multiple times at least with you, but was this something that you think the coaching staff saw with you right away, or were there certain things, what else did USL2 ball play a part of it? Because I know that that was a part of the journey as well, but like, what do you think really tipped off to the coaches that, hey, look, this is the full product of Sam that we really could be seeing in 2024?
Yeah, I want to say it started with this summer. I played at SSA in Atlanta, Georgia, and I think we came in third in the Southeast Division. I want to say. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but you know, they really gave me a great opportunity. I played every minute pretty much for them, and had a great summer season with them where we had the best finish that club's ever had in USL2, and played the six, played just about every minute possible for them, and yeah, that was, I think, what really started, at least it started 2024 for me, was, going in and having that, pretty much the best summer I possibly could have. And, you know, being able to do that and kind of just take that momentum into the fall season, because it starts from, I think, you work so hard to get an opportunity, you got to, once you kind of get that momentum going, you got to keep it going. So, having that summer ball really, really definitely, I think, played a part in not only showing Merrimack, oh, this guy's, more than capable of being our guy, but, coming in and keeping that momentum going into preseason and having a great preseason, scoring goals in preseason, you know, the coaching staff, I think, was definitely pleased with that. So.
And I'm such a big believer of the USL2 season leading into having a great fall. If you've had a productive summer, that same momentum just carries right into the same season. It would be different if it was if it was winter indoor ball because that's after the college year, but because USL2 is so close to that start of that summer season, I mean, I've always been a huge proponent of it. It's how I first really started working with the Westchester Flames. I've seen it firsthand, and I'm glad that it's been your experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly USL I think is one of the best platforms, especially for guys that, maybe they're at school and they're like they kind of need to make that leap in development in IQ or gameplay because
Mm.
it's not easy, especially at these top end schools like Providence, like Clemson, these ACC schools, these Big East schools to, go in and play right away as a freshman or a sophomore. But, you go and you get that experience in USL2, you play 12, 13 games in a summer, that's the same amount of minutes that you'd be getting in a fall season, which is, it can be very, I think people overlook it sometimes. They don't play in the summer. I think it's one of the best tools to improve as a college player, especially if you're just right there, you're trying to get more minutes, you're maybe getting 10, 15 minutes a game, but you want to get that more, you want to be playing 90 minutes a game. Obviously everybody does, but doing that in the summer, I think, there's a lot of summer teams that are always looking for top end players. So definitely I would say one of the best tools to improve throughout
Yeah.
the year.
And so now going back on this on the micro scale of being able to see your own perspective on this after having the great SSA USL2 season and then now join I mean where in the timeline did you join Merrimack? Was this did you join them in the spring or the fall that fall season was your first touch?
So I had graduated early from Providence, and then
Okay.
kind of was trying to figure things out in the spring, and then obviously went and played this summer in USL2, and then it was right before the USL2 season started. I had gotten in touch with Coach Martone, and
Mm.
I had committed just before the season started, and then obviously, after that commitment led into a great USL2 season for me, and then a great individual season at Merrimack this year.
So now that first taste of Merrimack was right off of that really. Hmm. You weren't involved in this locker room yet until after that USL2 season. So now going back to your own individual experience, like, those first preseason, those first practices, when did you really start to feel like this was a great system for you to be able to be that on-ball facilitator, someone that really could be that first man of the attack moving forward and ultimately part of it?
Yeah, I think it was I mean right away I felt at home, honestly. The guys took me in great. They were all awesome, and from day one, practicing with them and stuff, it was you know, I don't want to say there's a level change, but coming from a top 15 school, it's definitely, you're playing with a lot of guys at those top end schools are coming from Europe and top academies, and they are older. They're 23, 24, some of them, even some of them 25 years old. So
Mm.
playing with those older guys at 18, 19, I think definitely prepared me to go in and, be a leader there. And I tried to do that from day one, lead and show by example, with my communication and also just the way that I went about things to lead the team. So.
Right. And I gotta imagine that's been difficult, especially with the group of guys who don't necessarily know you. I mean, you've got guys who have been their freshman year, maybe it's their junior season, and then now you're in as this older guy, someone who's been around the college game, and now they're looking up to you to find maybe a little bit more of that guidance just naturally as that older player. Was that a difficult transition, at least at first, but then ultimately, coming really into this full idea of being this leader like you talked about.
Well, I think one thing about soccer is it's definitely it's a social game in itself, like getting to know personalities, people, how everybody acts, and what makes a player tick. Whether you are yelling at him or come on, man, like pick it up, or it's just
Right.
like hey, I know you can play better than that. Like, let's go. I think it's definitely it's finding the right balance with that, which is it's definitely not easy learning all those new names and then coming in as a leader. It's like trying to figure out, okay, what I can and can't say to motivate the other players on the field. But definitely, definitely something where I would say it took me a little bit, but I'd say right after preseason, I was, able to figure out for the most part, who I'm working with and how to make them at least how I can try to make them tick. So,
Like,
yeah.
so, and I mentioned this before, though, too. I mean, first of all, that's a great story to be able to hear, at least just on your perspective, how, adaptable that you were, not only to a position where you're really able to come into your own, but also a completely different environment. Definitely speaks highly of just you, not only as a player, but as a person as well. So, I want to get into some of the successes on the season too. I mean, we've talked about the goal against Quinnipiac, but there was also a hard fought battle against Fairfield that at least stuck out to me as at least being a huge moment for you guys. Tell me about that game. I know you scored a goal in that match, but what were some of the other matches, at least during the season, that maybe had a great impact on this team as well?
Yeah, I know. It was a so when we came in, it was a good start, and it was a very young team, and I knew that going in, it was not going to be easy to win games with such a young squad because honestly, I think more than half of the team were freshmen and sophomores. So, you know, those younger guys, playing against Boston colleges and guys who are, older and they have those seniors, those grad students, we didn't really have that. And, trying to get those guys up to speed as fast as possible because it is a jump from academy to college soccer. It's not easy. And, I think a lot of those guys, I would say, I think they got there, but I think it took a little bit of adjusting. And I would say, probably the first half of the season was hard, but I'd say right around that Fairfield game, maybe just a game or two before, was kind of a turning point for our team. And, we almost snuck into the playoffs for our playoff tournament there after, a hard first half of the season for sure. But definitely the Fairfield game, man, was a big, exciting game. And it was definitely an awesome one for me to score a free kick from pretty far out. So yeah, it was definitely a fun game to be a part of, and definitely something that I'll remember for the rest of my life, and definitely a great turning point for the team at that point to get a point and then keep us in playoff contention. So
Very nice. So, I mean, really, I guess just with, what else that I've got just to talk about with your end too. I mean, is just with the, the season that you've had with Merrimack as well as being as impactful as we've talked about, with not only the counting stats, but also the impact that you've had in that locker room with moving on from college soccer and just continuing to stay driven to the next opportunity that may come up. And I plan on picking up this conversation once you've got that professional deal signed. I know I wanted to just have this talk, right after the Midwest Combine, but making sure that you're staying driven day after day. What keeps you like what feeds into this fire now that college soccer's done?
I mean, I think since I want to say the 2014 World Cup, the U.S. they made a run, and ever since then I was like, I want to be playing in the World Cup. I want to be playing in the MLS. I want to be playing at the top levels, and I've always worked my whole life to get that opportunity to get to college soccer and then to now try to make that next step to play professionally. And now that it's so close, it's definitely something that keeps me motivated day in and day out to finally realize a dream that I've had since I was so little. So it's definitely it's pretty easy for me to stay motivated with that stuff coming around. It's not difficult. It's something it's so exciting. So.
And so what's allowed you just to learn the game best? I mean, I imagine that film has got to be a huge part of this, but also just understanding, the way the way that your position works, how it could be moved in different other systems. I mean, how are you, what's the process of you for, having gotten better in the past, but also continuing to getting better every single day now? I mean, you talk about before you just came back from your own workout, and that's what, I was like, yo, Sam, I want to get the interview at 12 o'clock. Let's go. Then you were like, nah, Danny, look, I got to go get my gym workout in. I said, all right, no problem. Fair enough. It didn't go exactly like that, but I said, yeah, I mean, it's evident that you keep working hard every single day. I mean, what else goes into that process?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was I think just getting experience, from the academy to the college level, once I got to Providence, especially at the beginning, it was hard for me to get, into the squad, trying to take the place of a senior and a grad student is not easy. So, um, you know, playing in the USL 2 games and, just trying to play in every game I can, whether it's like a pickup game here or a pickup game there, I think that's like the biggest thing to get better. And I think the biggest thing I realized in this last year, 2024, is like how much better I've been able to get just by getting game experience. And I think that's something that you can't really replicate game time. And, just that experience on the field it's I think the biggest developer is being in those game situations. Yeah, you can watch the games like Premier League games and MLS games, but being in it yourself is a completely different thing. And you can train all the technical work in the world. You can become the most fit guy on the field, but until you have the game awareness, I don't think that's where it comes together. It's like, okay, I've hit against the wall for a million hours in my entire life. I've become the most technical player I can be, and I'm still continuing to improve my technique, and I'm still working on that stuff. But playing in the games is has been the biggest thing for me to develop, and uh, you know, continuing to try and find where I can play wherever it is. Like today, earlier this morning, playing with a bunch of guys that are from college or just graduated college. So just playing with everybody, and the more you play, the better you get, more experience you have.
Well, Sam, I mean, I think it's been a great conversation that we've had. I know, it's, we've got a good size of really just content, and I like the way that I've been able really just to be able to pick your brain, see how it works, see what's really, how you've become this this better. Actually, you know what? Here's one thing though too. As I'm wrapping this up, I've got another thing that came to mind. I mean, how have you seen yourself become a better defensive midfielder from, let's say, now as opposed to, maybe even as far as even a year ago? How much of a difference have you seen, between these past 12 months or even 2 years, a year or two, until now? What do you think that that's looked like? What's made you better? What's made you more pro ready?
I want to just say, like, I've always been somebody to train again, like that does the extra work. But, I was, starting at the beginning of even December when I decided I'm leaving Providence and, gonna go find my opportunities elsewhere. Not, having that up in the air and not, you don't really know what's going on. You don't have anything guaranteed. It's definitely a motivator. And, I was doing everything every single day that I possibly could, whether it's training 2, 3 times a day, watching film, I was doing everything I possibly could every single day, staying consistent, staying on top of it. There's ups and downs throughout the journey. There's been ups and downs throughout 2024. And, at the end of the day, every single day I trained, every single day I stayed consistent, every single day I worked. And, that and it works out for the people who put the work in. It usually ends up working out for. And I would say that just keeping that consistency always, no matter what, whether I'm feeling good or bad, has definitely helped me, in my defensive midfield role, but also in any role that I would play in a team.
Perfect. I appreciate you taking that last question at the end. But like I was saying before, I mean, I've got everything that I want to ask you all out on my paper. But feel free to call me out on anything that you think I missed. I'm more than willing to sit down and talk with you a little bit more. I've loved the conversation, and I'm wishing you nothing but the best moving forward, Sam.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everything, and thank you for having me on. I'm really appreciative of that as well. So.
Course. And so that being said, I always like to leave, a few minutes at the end of the interview in case there's anything that you want to put out there to maybe a young kid who could be watching this, another college player, or anything else that you want to put out during this interview. I'll leave the chance for you to do that now. If not, I'm all the best again. And you got a supporter in me and kick a ball the rest of the way.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'd say any teams, any coaches that are looking for some to give somebody an opportunity, I have some interest, but I'm looking for that contract. So anybody that's interested in a defensive midfielder, but also a versatile player, you know, feel free to reach out. And to anybody who's, going through adversity or looking to find their next opportunity, don't give up. And as long as you continue the work and stay consistent, I think it'll work out for you.
All right, Sam, it's a pleasure. I appreciate the final thoughts at the end and all the best to you regardless for everything,
Yeah, thank you, Daniel.
of course.